Welcome to Burning Metal Shooting the Breeze, Episode 8. This time I'm joined by Darryn McCartney of formerly of Hybris and Proxist and a general all-round metal ambassador for Derry, really, as such, between the Dimebag Nights and whatnot in the past. You've done a good bit up there over the years, man.
It's been grand. You really picked me up there now. I feel all pressure now. It was all good beforehand, but now I'm feeling the pressure. But no, it's been grand. It's kind of weird because the scene up here for so long is so good, and then it was like you know yourself. You've met me many times. We've had a crack, and you know, coming down and seeing the scene. Further on down, as I said, around Dublin and Belfast and stuff, like it was kind of a big eye opener that the scene up here needed more, if you know what I mean. Because there was very few. I remember one stage growing up, Derry was you couldn't go into a bar without a metal band being on, you know, and then it went from that, and then. Like obviously in the early days of Hybris, we were gigging with some amazing bands in Derry, and the scene was heaving, like it was amazing. And then you know, I suppose most scenes go that way. You know, they kind of fizzle out for a while, and then there's a resurgence. But obviously we're sitting here now in the middle of COVID, still hopefully coming to the end because we're all writing new stuff. All the bands that I've been talking to, and we're all new bands starting, and we're just trying to get something. The whole scene, the whole island needs revived. You know, so I mean, I'm hoping that I know you said the ambassador for metal in Derry, but I'm hoping there's ambassadors everywhere. I know you're, you know, from Roscommon outwards, like you are like so good at pushing it for everybody else, and you're putting people out there, you know, like with all the other podcasts that I've watched, you know, you're pushing the agenda more for scenes to be revived, and scenes that were dying, they pick up again, and it's great to see, man. Do you know what I mean? And as I said, like I've always said, you know, we have a great relationship and a great friendship, and I've always said, without any bullshit, you know, that you're a great guy for pushing the agenda and putting people back out there and getting them back on the horse, so to speak, and trying things, you know what I mean? Like if other people had half the balls that you do, you know, the place would be fucking Ireland would just be so metal it would fucking sink. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I'm like the fucking David Hasselhoff of Irish metal at this point. I'm the true survivor. I keep fucking going. You might feel me fucked up eating a burger, but I'll bounce back.
There you go. Do you know what I mean?
Got a bit of a skip there, man. It's all right. Go on, it.
We were just saying there, like obviously up here in Stornoway, we've been given a date of 13th of July for live music. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
And then you know, down in the Republic, we're sitting here, we like having a clue what the fuck's going on. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard to see, man, because obviously, you know, I play in a band, my friends play in a band, family plays in a band, and you're sitting seeing it, and you're like, you know, and then it's sickening as well, because I know we were talking about the Euros and stuff, but you've seen all these VIPs coming in, we no quarantine, mingling, and we're sitting here being, oh, we can't even have a fucking pint with our mates and get up on stage and jam. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. And but you know, at the same time, we all need to get there. We all need to still be vaccinated, you know. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with that. That's fine. It's up to you. But it's about getting things back to a certain normal, you know, because no harm to you. Like, I mean, I'm for the gig. I was going to say to you, if you're going as well, the Sepultura gig along with Crowbar and all in Dublin in November. Fucking, hey, shoot me up with as many fucking needles as you want. I am going to that gig, and I am going to be the drunkest man there and the happiest man there at the same time. And that's a fact. You fucking, I'm telling you, and people that are watching this, if you see me, come on up and we'll do shots together and we'll just get absolutely torn up and we can hug and kiss. I don't care if you kiss me. I'm vaccinated, so you pray whatever the hell you want to me within reason. Within reason. Now I'm a married man, remember. So, but as I said, like with regards to you and people trying to get everybody back in the scene, I think that's what metal music especially in Ireland needs.
So tell me about Hybris. How did Hybris come to be?
Hybris came to be, funny enough, like I come from a musical family, right? And growing up, we were always sort of taught, piano and grades and stuff like that. And like my grandmother, she was one of the members of the Columkill Ladies Choir in Derry. She sang for Pope John Paul twice and Bill Clinton when he was president. My cousin, like two of my aunties sang with, two of my mother sang they sang for Clinton and for Pope John Paul. So I was always brought up in a musical background, and funny enough, one of my cousins, she went on. I'm not sure if you're aware of. It's not within our genre, like with Celtic Women.
I don't know them now.
They're world famous, but it's kind of that that river dancing kind of show that they put on. It's four girls from Ireland, and it's just that kind of river dancing Celtic Thunder kind of showpiece, and that's what they do. And she's world famous. She's sang like Sony and all that there, and fucking Black Sheep over here learned. He heard Judas Priest and Kiss and Pantera and that Led Zeppelin and Sabbath, and I just went, good luck, and that was me. So growing up in a musical family, I always wanted to be in a band, and being in choirs. I was in choirs growing up, and you were doing the whole button. You're like, oh, you can sing, and going, as I said, going through your grades and stuff like that. And it wasn't really then until I heard rock and metal, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is that. And I remember trying out for a band. They were kind of going for like how do I describe them? More operatic, I would say, for a singer. But they asked me to come on, and it was Niall Kierland and his brother and Johnny McCauley, who was a guitar player in Hybris at the very start. So they had this song, and I came on. I just, they were expecting this big Bruce Dickinson kind of thing, and I just heard the tune. I was like, all right, I just let out this big, old school kind of just cattle decapitation kind of stuff. And they were like, Jesus. So didn't go down well. They were like, what you're doing, that's cool, but no. So that was fine. The bass player that was in that band was Brian Smith. Now, I remember getting a message from Brian Smith then about maybe a year later. I started university. I was studying law, believe it or not. I was a law student at McGee University, and I had a message from Brian Smith. And I was, oh, hey man, remember me, blah, blah, blah. I go, I know, of course I do, lad. And I knew Brian anyway, because he kind of lived in the street over from my grandmother's house. And I knew who he was, and I knew he needed dance, and I'd been up to see him a few times, and that was grand. So he said, here, look, I remember your audition where you went really heavy. That's what we're kind of looking for. This is about late 2000, summer of 2008, I think it was. And because we'd just come back from Download, and I'd said, look, I'll come and we'll jam and we'll get something sorted. So I was at Download 2008, going over to see Kiss and Judas Priest and Motorhead, and came back, and I was like, right, Brian, when are we starting? When are we getting this jam together? I know I was just pumped after being there. It was the first heavy metal festival I was at. And they said, right, we'll get something organized. So we went out to Niall's parents' house. Well, it was Niall's house at the time as well, the guitar player. And I had do you remember the old grey digital 8-tracks? With the two wee rotator kind of. So that's what I had. So I went down, and there was Niall, And Niall always looked like a rock star. He was a year younger than me. I think I was 18, 19 at the time. Niall was a year and a bit younger than me. Brian Smith was just over a year younger than me. So all I had at this stage, because I was always broke, was my 2 Led Zeppelin tattoos. That was it. Or my 4 Led Zeppelin tattoos, sorry, on my wrist. So there was me sitting, and Niall sitting in a Rockstar, and they always had the best equipment. They had like a Michael Amott LTD. Here's this 18-year-old student with his, all his equipment, and I thought, holy shit, this guy knows his stuff. And it was the first time I was like, oh fuck, I have to actually do something here now. Like actually perform. Like it was all well and good in the first thing where I went and held the screen for a while, and they were like, no, it's not what we're looking for, lad. Okay, no bother. I don't have to produce anything after that. So I think we went down then and we recorded kind of like a portion of a song anyway. Lyrics were coming to me, they were terrible. But it fit, if you know what I mean. And it was kind of like, look, I'll work on the lyrics, but here's the overall melody. And it was actually the bones of
No, we just had another skip there. I just paused it for a second.
no
You were
worries.
saying about that you were getting the lyrics together and the harmony for the song. And what song was it?
Chaos Reigns. It was the bones of Chaos Reigns, and I can't remember what we called it at the time, but it was terrible. And then we wrote a song called "Stem the Flow," which is basically about pretty like an explosive kind of way of like self-harm and like people getting shoved in the neck and just a lot of blood kind of thing. Because I just, as I said, I just went to like, what's the most metal band that I know? Slayer. What do they always write about? Fucking blood. Just if you go for blood and you go for explosions of arteries, you're only a winner. So it was kind of like a really thrashy song. So I thought, right, that'll fit. Recorded it, went down, that was grand. They asked me to be in the band. I was overjoyed. I said, absolutely amazing, buzzing. Telling my dad, would have been a band, and telling the girlfriend at the time. Everybody was all yes, and it was great. And I remember going back up then to Niall's parents' house for drinks, and Niall's ma turned, Tina, and she's all, see a man I heard you, she's all, you have to get, she turned to her son, turned to Niall's all, get him on. Get him on. And that was that time, and that was the start of it. And we started, our first gig was in the community hall out in, was it Limavady? Or Eglinton? And a bunch of kids, kids sitting there with Trivium t-shirts and all on, and just an old school kind of mashup in a community hall. We then played Missions, our second gig, and Missions was known as the metal bar of Derry. All the big bands played Missions. So I was like, holy shit, I've arrived on my second gig. There's a few lineup changes. Johnny was unanimously voted out of the band just because he didn't make the grade. Like Niall he's a guitar wizard. I mean, I can't rate that man high enough. And then Dee, who was actually the original singer, came in. Dee had more of a thrashy voice. Dee's an amazing singer as well. He's been on a few shows here in the north of Ireland and in the UK. He's done that. It was like Gary Barlow thing. They were looking for like a singer, and he went on. He did Bon Jovi. So if you ever get Dee Kivlahan, Bon Jovi, you'll see it. Amazing. So that was the start of it, and automatically I knew Dee anyway from sort of partying about and stuff like that, and that was grand. Dee came in, amazing guitarist. Niall was there, amazing guitarist. Brian Smith, he was the brain behind it. He was the guy that was always taking a step back and going, right, lads, we need to do this, and this. Whereas all us boys were just teenagers looking to party and get wrecked. Then we had Brian Doherty, who came on as well. He was our drummer, drummed for the Evangelists before the hand. Then it was Hybris, and then obviously I think a lot of people knew him then playing after Hybris. He went and played drums for Mecca Monsters. Mm-hmm. Like I know a lot of people knew Mecca Monsters then, and he's I'm assuming he's still with the remnants of Mecca Monsters whenever they broke up as well. They just changed the Facebook of Mecca Monsters once they kicked out Paul, who was the main songwriter. Just changed the name, kept the fans. I know it sounds really bitchy, and if they're watching, it's the truth. But it's just one of them things. So I wish them all the best and stuff like that there as well. But that was the lineup, the lineup of Hybris. And whenever we started, man, it was just we each had an idea in our heads, and obviously, as I said, you know me really well, inside out. You know I'm a huge Phil Anselmo fan. To me, I was like, when I go on stage, I'm going to be trying and give the attitude and give the bring that energy that Phil had. But obviously, all my heroes, emulating all my heroes, know all the great frontmen. Like, I'm not the best singer about, but when you see me on stage, I'm going to give it everything until I fucking collapse. You're looking at the likes of like Paul Stanley, one of my heroes, Phil Anselmo, as I mentioned, Ozzy. It's for me, it was always about people are coming to pay and see you do the fucking best that you can do. There's so many amazing bands that I've seen that just stand there and be like, the singer's just like, sounds amazing, but I would rather go see Ozzy throwing fucking fecal matter over everybody, being off key, but at least showing that he's just rampant. Like even Bruce Dickinson, you know what I mean? Bruce Dickinson is another hero of mine. He's here and there and up there and down there, and you know what I mean? If only flew a track for.
But you had
But
I was going to say, you had a very big following, man. I watched the video there earlier today, and you got a fucking big wall of death at a gig, man. That's very unusual for an Irish, for a band of what your level was at the time, man. Fucking hell, man, a wall of death, and it was big, the whole fucking room, fucking bang,
huge, man. I mean, I was really worried. I've always been kind of self-conscious, I suppose. Am I good enough? Because you get your critics, and obviously when you were younger, you raised it, and the older you get, then you just feel, you're going to get people that like you, you're going to get people that don't like you. But my main thing was this is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to play in a band. I've always wanted to play live in front of people, and am I going to be good enough? And the video that you're on about, I think it was in the Nerve Centre. And it was the first time playing the Nerve Centre. Now, the Nerve Centre in Derry is like Carnegie Hall. It's like the Olympic. It's, it is what it is. It is the Madison Square Garden. It is the place in Derry. Like, if you're in a band and you play there, that's like all my friends, all my local heroes in Derry play there. You have 12 gauge, who Steve and Proxist was, and Darryn Rogers, actually, he played bass in Hybris for a while when Brian Smith was in New Zealand. All some of my closest mates, Death Warrant, again, Steve and David McDonough and the Sandys, who were in Proxist as well. Like, they all played there. And, one of my closest mates as well, Dortch, God rest him, he's gone. Like, we lost him tragically. This is whenever I remember hanging about with those guys, and that's what I remember. It was just them being on stage. And one of my dreams actually was, I always say it, if I could play Cowboys from Hell in the Nerve Centre, that's it. That's me done. I've made it. And I've played Cowboys from Hell countless times in there. And if somebody asked me to go and play Cowboys from Hell again, I would go up and I would love it just as much as the first time I played it. It's just the place to be. And coming out and seeing that reaction, the songs that you wrote, like, we can all go crazy for songs that we love. If you're coming out and you're doing a cover, everybody's going to love that because everybody's going to love it. But if you're coming out and doing your own song and you see that kind of reaction, like a wall of death, like Niall turned to me and he was like, "Are you going to try and get a wall of death for us?" No, because part of our songwriting was like, let's put on a section where it's just going to be, like half time and it's going to be faulty. And, we wrote songs specifically with that in mind about getting the crowd going, well, what about if we added this on another couple of bars and then stop? And Brian kept the snare going, and that was my time to talk and get everybody, that was our songwriting process. We wrote songs with this in mind about interacting and getting everybody involved. So Niall turned, he was all, "Are you going to do it?" And I was like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." And me, shaking, like, and I never get nervous, but there's something about those gigs, you know, that in the early days that made me get really nervous about, oh, you know, are they going to react or they're not? And it kind of developed me, as you know me, as the kind of smart mouth, you know, whenever somebody might give one or two cheers, and then most people would kind of retract and go, oh shit, they don't like us. But that just spurs me on more, as you've seen. You know, I'd come out and I'd be all, I'll get somebody up and I'll dance to them, or I'll come out and dance for you. I don't give a shit. You know, I'm going to get a reaction here, either way. But that's where it came from. So when I came out and seen that reaction, I was like, right, we're doing something right. You know, we are doing something. And then I thought, right, maybe it's just a Derry thing. Maybe they're just supporting your own and your local. Then we went to Belfast. That was the same. And then we went to Dublin. It was the same. Cork, it was the same. All around, you know what I mean? We were playing Oma. We were playing on a Wednesday night. And the place, I'll never forget it. There was these kids in. And I've never seen such well-behaved underage drinking. I mean, they were 17, 16, 17. Each of them had like 4 pints each, and then they stopped and started drinking water. I was like, holy shit. I was like, well, if that was us, you know what I mean? We'd still be in a field passed out, covered in piss. But they were the most but they were swinging from the rafters, and, you know, it was like one of those old wooden, like, beams up on the rafters with thatch. And they were swinging, and they were like, the doorman knew them all, you know what I mean? He's like, oh, that one over there, that's my nephew. Like, yeah. Off the rafter. I was like, right, well, that's grand. As long as they're enjoying themselves, they're keeping safe. But it was, we had a great following. And then over the years, then we did we were focusing on different projects, and then things came up, and family life started, and everything was starting. Everybody knows who it is. And then we were getting back together for the odd gigs. There was a good demand then. We were doing, you know, a lot of charity work and stuff. There was people going, look, we're raising this money and we're putting it on, and is there any chance Havers could reform? And you know, because we put everything on a back burner and we were focusing on sort of different other things, because Brian Smith moved to New Zealand then, and he'd settled over there. So we're like, we're not going to continue without him. Maybe the odd gig where we could get, as I said, Darryn Rogers, as we mentioned, or we could get somebody to fall on, but we're not going to do a full thing without him, because it's not the same. You know what I mean? We're not going to, as much as I love Kiss, we're not going to do a Kiss and chop and change, and you know, we're even doing it space now. It's just, it's not that, you know what I mean? And it's the original boys, and like, you know, as I said, we love together, even though Niall and Brian Smith paid rent, but we all loved in the student accommodation together, and you know, it is what it was. We were just a bunch of kids that were playing, writing our own stuff, and it resonated with people, and we just, as I said, I view this very much musically. Obviously, as I said, Pantera, them boys, you know, we were all Lamb of God. We were throwing on Fun Lizzy. There was wee things on there as well. We were throwing on kind of Irish, kind of pentatonic kind of stuff. So we were just throwing all our influences, and it worked. It worked amazingly. You know, some of the boys were putting on, they were all about, you know, the kind of clean vocals of Trivium. I was never a fan of Trivium, but then that was whenever they kind of spurred me on. They try and start singing more clean and stuff, and you know, as I said, it worked. And it was what it was. It was a juggernaut at the time, and as I said, then we all grew up, and we went on their different projects and stuff. But no, Hybris holds a very special place in my heart, definitely.
It's an awful shame Hybris wasn't around now with the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses competition and all the rest, because if he got the reaction now that you got back in those days, like, he'd be fucking on Bloodstock's build, I reckon, straight away, because
we tried to do the Bloodstock thing. Do you remember where it was the band voting thing years ago? Like 2009, 2010, maybe.
Oh, was there one back then as well? I knew there was one from around 2012 onwards, but I didn't know it was going on around that long.
It was the kind of the same thing, except it was it Facebook or was it like fucking Bebo? Do you remember Bebo?
Oh God, yeah. You're going back now, man.
Go back, you know, you fall out with a friend and you move them in your top 16. Is that right, you go back? Well, you're going from number 2 all the way to 16. So much petty shit, but no, it was kind of around the same thing, and it was the Red Bull background jam or something like that. And we tried, but I'm sure if you go on the YouTube and you type on Havers Sense of Belonging and the video that Brian Smith made, now we love the video. But because we were so broke and we were still kind of students,
it was the Abodi fucking thing in the middle. I seen it, yeah.
that was what they had the watermark on.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what's the story with the watermark? And Brian just heard this. And as I said, he was the serious one. But like, whenever he said something, he was being dead serious. That's when he was being his funniest as well, because like, we were just, oh, sorry, Brian. And we would just sort of set ourselves off. And we were like, what's the crack with the watermark? And he turned and he goes, you only fucking paid for the program. And we all looked at each other and like, this is the time we were kind of like, can we bounce up enough so each one of us gets a bottle of Frosty Jacks, which is like 3. Do you know what I mean? So we were like, go on, Brian. Sorry, lad, for, you know. So you can see the video, and I'm like, most people, like a lot of people voted for us as well. But like, I can imagine some people going, oh, these fucking broke jokesters here. You know, but it is what it was like, and it was. I'm extremely proud of that video as well, because that video was at a 2-day party in the house that we lived in at the time. And we just said, all our friends, look, we're going to walk around with a home camera, just a handheld camera for the young ones there that don't know. It wasn't a phone. We were just walking about, and each member took a turn, you know. So it was kind of like Brian Smuff started it all off, and it was all good and stuff like that there. And I told him, I was all, look, man, you know I'm a massive Pantera fan, massive Dimebag fan. Make sure that I'm doing the video part whenever I'm really drunk. As all, because it's just vulgar videos, do you know what I mean? And that, again, it was all fueled in the back of my head of, they're going to be my ultimate band, why not just try and do what they did as well? You know, I'm not trying to reinvent the metal wheel, but just adding it, you know. So it was the best 2 days of my life. It was just absolute mayhem for 2 days in that house, and all the footage you see is just everything. Cut on with a few live shows, but it was just an absolute disaster.
Good times.
Oh.
One thing I liked about the video you have in the Nerve Center, in typical Darryn fashion, you fucking abused the fuck out of some fella and called him a dickhead for wearing an orange t-shirt before the wall of death. I was just like, you're always the same.
Funny enough, the guy in the orange t-shirt, or purple or whatever it was, I just remember telling him, fuck up, you're wearing a hangway. You know, stop talking shit. Can't hang, you're going to give me grief. I got the microphone, lad, I'm louder than you. Not that I need the microphone because I'm fucking 10 times loud as it is, but it turns out then, after that song, and Dee was tuning, and I turned and goes, that was my fucking cousin. I go, tell your cousin, he's a dick. You know, it was just one of those, I was on the zone, ruthless, I didn't care who it was. Could have been my own man. I would fuck up. You know what I mean? Just catch yourself on, get on that fucking wall of death and stop your crying. But that's what I mean. Like, it was, you know, we were actually banned from the Nerve Center. We were called the most dangerous band. Quote, this is a quote, the most dangerous band that they've ever let on the doors.
Jesus.
And I thought,
run with it. Run with it.
What a compliment. I remember it was, I can't remember his surname. It was Brian that worked in the Nerve Center. I think he's still there. And that's what I'd said. I thought he was taking the hand because we had like a good relationship with him, you know. And he's like, no, lads, I'm deadly serious. And I thought, right, holy shit, it's not April Fool's, he's deadly serious. And I turned and I go, are you telling me that we're more dangerous than Sepultura, The Haunted, Trivium, you know, all these bands that played on there? And I was like, these are banned for whatever number of months it was. I walked away going, yes! Straight back, I know, straight back to the house, on my laptop, updated my Facebook with that quote tag, and I must take it out. I must cruise through the 2009 comments. Christ knows what I was on about back then as well. I was probably celebrating Man United being good as well. But I couldn't believe it. That's like most dangerous band you played on them doors. Class. And so I was like, I'll take that every day of the week.
Exactly. Sure, we'll knock on a bit of hybris now for the crack just to bring you back. You probably haven't listened to this in quite a while.
Probably not, no.
I wouldn't say so. Here we go. Hopefully no ad to come on now, but I wouldn't say so. Oh, there it is. Created with Adobe Premiere Element 9 trial version.
It's back.
It's back.
PTSD.
Here we go.
Holy shit, hey.
Brought you
What a
back, man.
blast from the past. The funny thing is, too, as well, I wrote those lyrics the day they were supposed to be recorded. I wrote them in the studio. Mick McConnell was recording us, and I remember wee Brian turned to me, was all, do you even have any lyrics for it? And I was like, oh, you better fucking write something before Brian Smith comes along. But at that stage, me and wee Brian were drinking a lot together and hanging out, and just we were going to the same bars all the time. Everybody knew us, you know. We were, as I say, we were drinking, but people were buying us drinks and kind of thing. And we were listening to a lot of Slipknot Volume 3, and one of the standout songs in that for me was what was it? What do you call it now? 3.0, something like that.
Mm.
And
I've listened to the album in years, man. I can't remember.
That's what I mean. I haven't listened to it. Do you know what? I might actually listen to some Slipknot tomorrow for it's been a long time. But it was that kind of Corey Taylor kind of mood that we were in, and you know, because Brian said to me, you know, why have you never tried singing fast? Yeah, I don't know. I've never written anything singing fast. So that's whenever it's like, as you get that, that kind of Corey Taylor-esque kind of new metal, kind of pseudo rap, but just guttural shenanigans as well. So I remember writing that song, and like as I said, it's one of those things. And Hybris was one of those bands where every single one of us were different in our tastes at some point, but there was things that united us. You know, there's some bands that we hated. Like, I mean, I nearly murdered Niall one night because he said Tony Iommi is overrated and shite, and I nearly flipped because you know, I mean, he had to go with Sepultura on the same night, and I just went, no, you don't. So you know, it was and like, whereas he at that stage he was on the Arch Enemy, Trivium, no, the really. You've heard the harmonies there, all that. Anyway, harmonies were never my kind of thing. Give me Dirt Heavy and give me Sludgy was my, you know what I mean? Was my thing. D was all thrash. Like he was, as I said, you know, he was the, like, D, short for D-Man. I used to call him, I still have my phone as D Mustaine. You know, Brian Smith, he just like, Brian was, I would say always, he was the most sort of, you know, he would have listened to a wide variety of everything. He plays the piano part in the Hybris album as well. Great musician. Like they're all great musicians. They still are. But as I said, we just get older, we move on, we fall out, and you know, unfortunately, it's just one of them things. It's being in a band when a band breaks up, or whenever you know you have a fight. It's kind of like breaking up with a girl or you know fella or whatever way you're inclined. And then you know they start new bands and you start new bands and you spend more time with other members or you're spending more time away and so it is what it is like. And but as I said, I still love them boys. Like I remember we all have a hitch tattooed on our ankle, and it was the most. It's actually surprising that we didn't get some form of hepatitis or whatever because it was done by a safety pin in our living room, a safety pin and Indian ink.
Fuck.
And we thought, so this is whenever the band was all said, we're like, oh, we're blood brothers now. So we thought, we'll just share the same needle. You know, which is, don't do that, kids. You know, kind of, that's like, you know, junkie territory there. And you're talking, we'll just share the same needle. It's not heroin, it's just Indian ink. But it was the camaraderie. Do you know what I mean? It was the first kind of, and we were in the back of vans together. We were
us against the world.
Oh man, I remember we were playing in Belfast, and there was a girl that was we were good friends, and she'd say, look, if you need somewhere to crash, just let me know. And I was like, we're meant to be staying at the student accommodation with Niall and Brian Smith's friends, and obviously me and Dee get locked out. Wee Brian, being wee Brian, was straight on with a girl, you know, he was the handsome one. And me and Dee tried to climb over the railings of Queen's University. And it took us 45 minutes to get around to a sweet spot away from the camera. Nah, caught us. But the camaraderie was, them boys run there, we women. And they turned and went, no, fuck this, we're not abandoning them two. and we went out. We were sleeping on the back of Brian Smith's car. Do you remember a Ford car? It was no bigger than a fucking a shoe. Oh Jesus! So they were all cramped up, they were sharing like 2 blankets. All them boys getting up and all these 2 fuckers and all. We could have been in there with all these women and all. Me and Dee were just laughing because we were steaming. And I was grand. I rang her up then, and she's like, "I'm more around. He's more than welcome to stay." So we went and we got a place to stay. But it was wee things like that there as well. That we were getting kicked out of Queen's University, but we weren't going to leave no man left behind, and stuff like that there. So I know nothing but love for the Havers memories. Like as I said, look, we're still in contact every now and then, but I thought it was good times for being drunk and meetings.
We'll move on to Proxys now. Actually, the Proxys were a band before you joined. Like they had a song on the video game of is ABP Reloaded.
All Points Bulletin. So even though it was actually, here's the thing with Desensitized Generation. Desensitized Generation was written, I think, mainly, if not 100%, by Steve Caldwell. The genius behind Proxys as well. And before we even get on that, I just want to say about Steve. Steve is probably the most well-rounded and the most genius musician I've ever played with. I mean, it's mind-blowing how this man isn't sitting writing shit for Hans Zimmer or with Hans Zimmer. Steve is he's just a musical genius. And everything he does, like even his solo stuff, he was very much influenced by Devin Townsend. And like I must send you actually some of Steve's stuff. Even if you just go or YouTube Steve Caldwell, like you'll hear it and automatically go Devin Townsend. But it's the really ambient stuff,
Yeah.
And that's what, like, me and Steve knew each other for years, as I said, since we were about 15, 16. And that's to say, they played in 12 Gauge, and who were the metal band of our time. They were the big metal band, But it was Kieran Andy Anderson, a legendary band. I'm sure everybody knows them, Libido Switch from Derry. They were looking up my heroes. Kieran is a great friend of mine now. He gave me the advice after Havers. He was all, "You need to get back on the horse, big man." And I thought, "Do you know what? You're right." And it was that Big Andy's advice, Big Kieran Andy, and he said to me, and I go, "You're right." So me and Steve had talked about doing stuff before because we had so much similar interests. We loved Fear Factory, we loved Devin Townsend, we loved kind of the industrial side of things.
All right. I just had a bit of a skip again there, man. Bit of a jump in the connection, but
you're grand. You're grand. Everybody's on Pornhub at this time. It's not their fault.
Gonna say,
where did we get
like with Proxys that would already had the video game and all the rest.
That's what I mean. They had the video game thing. It was Steve wrote that whenever he was in Death Warrant.
Yeah.
And Proxys basically was half Death Warrant and half Havers. It was, as I said, you had Steve and you had the two Sandy brothers. You had Kev Sandy and Paul Sandy coming on guitar. And it was me. I wanted to play Desensitized Generation. Whenever I heard it, I was like, Jesus. Whenever Death Warrant released it and Havers was still going strong, we ended up beating them in the Battle of Bands. There was a year, 2009, we won something like 8 Battle of Bands in a row. Every Battle of Bands that we entered, that's what I mean. We were so on a roll. And we were on with Death Warrant, but I was looking with Brian said, "Have you heard this?" And I go, "Who is it?" And it was Death Warrant. And I go, "McDonough singing?" And he goes, "Aye." It was David McDonough came on to replace Johnny. Johnny was kind of like an old school. He was brilliant as well. He was a great screamer. But he came on, he was doing like kind of the Misfit style, that kind of punky stuff.
Very different to the modern Proxy stuff.
Very different, very different. And so David McDonough came on then, another best friend of mine. And they played Desensitized Generation, the original version. And I was like, holy shit, this is, this is amazing. So I remember messaging all the boys at Deathmark, going, what? This is amazing. So whenever Proxys started, and it obviously only came about because Proxys, PRO, it was project exist. So Proxys, we put them together. It was only a side project between me and Steve. He was still on Deathmark, I was still on Hybris, but we were looking to get something together. So it was grand. So one of my things whenever we were getting the band together, I stipulated, I go, lads, I don't care, and I know the versions have been done before. I love David's version, and I actually asked them, do you mind if I re-record it and do my own version? I wanted it to be an audition for me, even though Steve was all, lad, we know what you've done in Hybris, you don't need an audition. I thought, but I want to. So I wanted to sing Desensitized Generation, just do it my way and the way I felt that I could do it. That was different from David's style, and different from Johnny's style. And went and did it and recorded it, and they all loved it. Steve then changed his recording equipment. So he has his own studio, and he changed his programming and re-recording equipment. And he just re-recorded the whole song, and that's why you have the Proxys version. Then, I mean, all the lyrics are still the same. I think there's a few changes, like kind of tunings, and there's sections kind of cut out that weren't needed or necessary. But for all, it's a huge song. Still is a huge song. I mean, it has thousands and thousands of views still. The original, ours has a good couple of thousand as well, which is grand. I think I even commented underneath it one time. Somebody had said they prefer the original version, and I said, me too. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I love David's version and Johnny's version, and but me and Steve, whenever Proxys started, then they already had that song the same way we had Chaos Reigns or Sense of Belonging. But I didn't really want to bring the Hybris stuff on. I wanted to do stuff that I hadn't done. So for me, I was kind of like, oh, I want to play this Deathmark song, I want to play that Deathmark song, and they were kind of like, right, this is supposed to be different from Deathmark. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I want to sing this, and this because they're class. We did have a rivalry, but it was a friendly rivalry. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of, we're from the same town. We're all mates. We're here to support each other, but we're going to, if it comes down to it, we're going to be like, going to blow you off a stage and they can. It was all friendly and it was all good. It was the same kind of relationship that Proxys had with Mega Monsters. We were all friends. We were all always drinking together. I mean, the minute we finished the gig, Paul Monk, Mega Monsters went and they played there, and Paul Monk was like literally beforehand. Like we were doing the door for each other and stuff like that. I would have came off playing, helped the Proxys lads to pack up, and I would have been straight down at the door then doing the door for Mega Monsters. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. I mentioned camaraderie amongst bands. You don't see a lot of it these days. Like likewise, if you were running a gig and you were busy doing other things, I don't expect really. If you ask me to do the door, I do it in sweat. Whether there's not that much around anymore, and like it's a great thing. That's what the Derry metal community was about. And I'm sure Dublin was the same with certain bands.
No, Dublin was never like that, man.
It's mad.
They're always in competition with each other, I felt. It's changed now with the younger generation. Now they're all kind of, they seem to have a different mindset, but historically they were always kind of seemed to be out trying to outdo each other. I kind of felt, from looking from the outside in, because I was running gigs in Dublin,
even at that, I suppose, like as I said, we were always trying to outdo each other, but it was always in a friendly way. We're not really trying to go, hey, fucking shite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it just seemed different in Dublin. It kind of, as soon as the band were finished, the other band would just fuck off. Like,
no, you see, no,
I've very seldom seen other members of other bands staying around to watch the other set. Like, if bands came in to Dublin to play for me and they weren't there, they'd hang about. But historically, 9 times out of 10, the other Dublin-based bands would just fuck off the minute they were done. Like,
See, I don't get that. I mean, like, even whenever those gigs were happening in the Gypsy Rose, which, as we said, came up in the memories there yesterday.
It's weird, man.
I was like, I had to be fucking dragged out of the Gypsy Rose, do you mind? I had to be fucking dragged out. One more pint. You're like, no, all the bands are playing. The bands are over. You fucking madman, get out.
You have to fuck out.
All right, then. But I don't get that. I don't know if it's, it's like a small town. were sort of stuff.
Another glitch. What the hell? Yeah, that was weird that the whole fucking Sonic Circus thing appeared. Jesus. One thing about the Sonic Circus that I love, it was never planned, but it only happened once, and it was headlined by Deadly Circus Fire. Like, fucking nailed it in hindsight.
Great. Like, funnily enough, whenever that came up and it was showing you photos of the gig, do you remember this horrendous photo? And
You?
Aye, and it
Yeah,
was
with your fucking basically sweaty. Yeah.
oh yes, lad. But that was my button. Remember, my top button busted and the zip was broke as it was. So I was standing out there, and that was the weekend of Dublin Pride.
Yeah.
So that's because I had the rainbow thing there because I'd met my cousin earlier on, and I just remember my fucking thing opening, and I was like, oh Jesus, my balls are going to fall out of pride. You know what I mean? And man, that was one of the best. That was one of the best weekends. We actually have a video of that gig. I think we played. I think it was Termination and something else. But there was all the kind of again Pantera vulgar videos behind it. There's me taking a pass at the car park, dancing the indie Phil Collins, Two Hearts.
The whole Arnold Schwarzenegger thing at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my lord! Listen to Brad Fidel's Terminator 2 soundtrack. Sarah Connor. Our bass player got a type like Connor Summers. Of all the names he had to be called was Connor, and once I was drunk, it was just Connor Summers, Connor Summers, Connor, Sarah Connor, and then in my mind I just went Sarah Connor, John Connor, and he was just like. It turned to me as well. I couldn't watch Terminator for years because anytime I heard the line, John Connor or Sarah Connor, it just was all I had was a drunk McCartney at 8 a.m. just going.
Good job, your man. So, good job. The actual there's a John Connor in the northern metal scene. He plays in the band Celine, and there were Celine. No, Raven liked his new band actually. I could imagine if you were in a band with him, John Connor, I'd say you'd end up in fucking blows, man.
Here's a funny story. He actually approached me one time. It was in the Bound for Boston, which is, I worked in the Bound for Boston, and it was kind of, if I wasn't on missions, I was going to be in the Bound for Boston. It was one of the two, and the Bound for Boston was well known as a rock bar as well, metal bar. Kind of, and they bands, underground bands, basically were in the Bound for all the time. And it was one of the best places in Derry. I mean, Derry's history, like just for a great night out. And I remember I was at somebody was playing, one of our mates was playing. I think it might have been Glenn Rossborough. Most people know him from Karma 45 and Intermission. Great musician, absolutely amazing musician. And he was playing, and so I was there, and John Connor, he came up to me. He probably doesn't remember us, or if he does, he'll never speak it. But he was asking me to do maybe heavy vocals on a song, kind of like a background, because I knew the band, the stuff that he was on, they was kind of that operatic, kind of night wishy, stuff. And I said, I know bother that. I'm always interested in trying new things, pushing myself out of the comfort zone, whatever else. And he's like, oh, you can find me on Facebook. And I go, what's your name? And he goes, John Connor. And I go, I just don't know what came over me. Like, come with me if you want to live. And his face just fucking went. And he's just like, I don't think I'm going to work with this asshole. The rest of the night, I kept telling everybody, the rest of the boys in the Hybris were steaming. And I was like, yes, you just asked me to, do something with him, John Connor. And I was just sitting the whole night. And that's the saying. I went on to the Boyfriend the following night, and they were all, what were you shouting, John? Why are you shouting him in the folks last night for? And I was like, the guy, I tried to explain it, and Big Shaggy, one of not the doormen, sorry, the staff there, another great friend of mine, just looked at me. He was just standing at McCartney night, and I said, "No, some dude, John Connor was like asking me to sing." And he's like, "John Connor." He goes, "Who's his fucking band? Skynet?" And I like, he just didn't believe me. He just thought I was just drunk and shout like Terminator quotes, as I often do. Like I do get steaming and shout quotes at people to see if they know them. But in this instance, I was actually in the right. You know, so John Connor, what a guy. And I wish him well. John, if you're ever watching this, lad, hit me up and we can do Skynet together. It could be like this death
I don't
metal.
think he'll watch this. I don't think if he's not a fan of you by the sounds of things, and I don't particularly think he's a fan of me either. So I think we're safe enough.
I'll find him and tag him in it. And if he doesn't like it, well, you know what I'll do? I'll just send a T1000 against them.
Exactly.
Checkmate.
He'd be fucking looking out the window, and there's fucking Jesus, Robert Patrick fucking looking in at him like, oh fuck, the day has come.
Be like your man from Fallout Head. It's yourself. Like Robert looking on the window, you're a bit.
So we meet at last, whoever you are.
That's yourself. Hold on, I'll have my beer fridge right beside me because you have to prepare for these kind of things. Hello, lad. Well, I'm telling you, most well-organised man tonight. But I know I was, geez, John Connor, hey, brilliant. Like, he couldn't write it, you know what I mean? He could have any other name, like any other Darryn name, Patrick Doherty, Seamus McLaughlin, fucking John Connor, are you taking a hand? Of all the names, me fucking ringing, Stephen. Just let me out like Arnold Goyle, like it was like what do you call it? Arnold Core.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, that's somebody must have thought somebody put that on the auxiliary, going, you know what I mean? Get to the chopper. Where is it? Oh, it's just McCartney shouting. All right.
Yeah, that's one of my fucking personal career highlights and the music thing. I got read an Arnold Core gig like.
Oh no, I know. I made you saying like a couple of times because obviously we have our shared love for movies as well.
Oh, that was the best gig I ever ran, man. The fucking place was wedged, and they were fucking class, man. You know, I was just.
I've never asked you. In all the years that we've known each other, I've actually never asked you what was the best gig you've ever seen. Because I know your music taste is so like. Again, as I said, like I've never met anybody that has such a wide variety of metal, like. Not only knowledge, but like, you know what I mean? So what is, in your opinion, what is the best gig that you've ever been to? Best,
Jesus.
Best band, like we'll put it that way. Best band.
Well, the best gig I ever went on a production level would have to be Roger Waters' The Wall. Roger Waters' The Wall and the production level, definitely.
Unbelievable.
Best live one. Jesus, man, there's so many. Like,
I would love to see Roger Waters.
Huh?
I would love to have seen him. I love Pink Floyd as well, but like Roger Waters, obviously, for his solidarity with Palestine as well. You know, I've always.
Yeah, it was the biggest production ever in a gig. It was something like 4 million. Like the whole wall was like there, and it all fell down at the end, and it was just a fucking spectacle, man. That was just unbelievable.
It's just a visual and auditory experience.
Mm-hmm. But best live, Jesus, man, there's been so many. Like fucking hell, like
it doesn't even have to be metal. I mean, what am I?
I know. I'm just trying to think who was. Machine Head at Donington in 07 now would be up there. That was fucking magical now. That was just fucking unbelievable.
That was just after they brought out the Blackener, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, that was.
I'm not a fan
of them now the way they've gone, but Jesus, man, that was fucking serious. And
that was their
so many others, man. Like fucking hell, man. I've seen so many over the years, like, you know, fuck.
That's what I mean. Like you've seen some amount of bands. I mean, you've seen more bands than I would ever see. Including fucking playing alongside these bands like in a lifetime.
Yeah, I really was hardcore in my 20s, man. I was constantly going to gigs and festivals. So,
no, I remember we chatted about that a few years back, and like you were saying like how many gigs and stuff, and I was like, fuck, I remember one year I was so skint I'd be looking to make 2 gigs a year. You know what I mean? And it's
Like I don't know, man. I've seen like the Carcass at the Gates, fucking
Ooh.
Behemoth, Sepultura. Nearly got Pantera. Nearly, fucking nearly,
I know you told me that story,
nearly.
man, and that just
I had a ticket, man. I fucking had a
I
ticket.
know.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a sore one, but I don't know.
Jesus.
There's been so many. I like Judas Priest, fucking incredible. Even though Metallica aren't what they were, like when I seen them back in the day, man, they were fucking class. Like I seen them back in the '90s, back when they were when Newstead was
Metallica.
there, and they were a fucking animal force, like you know. So
They were a different level back in, like
yeah. So I don't know, man. I couldn't really. I'd say on a production level, it would have to be Roger Waters' The Wall Tour, but
Jesus.
on
But what
a
a tour,
performance
like
level, there's so many, man. You know, it's like, what's your favorite day of your life? You know.
Sunday.
The
There,
favorite day of your whole life is Sunday.
Sunday. So I can go to mass and I can get some communion and I can.
Your missus better not watch this, man.
That's your balls, he says. So what? No chance I go to mass. The only time I go to mass is if somebody died, somebody's getting christened, or somebody's getting married, or one of the Waynes is making another sacrament. That's about the height. Like. And the only reason I go is because I know afterwards, right, happy days, Waynes are going to go to like the bowling alley or whatever. They're going to run themselves ragged. We're going to get a babysitter, and I'm going to get fucking blocked. And that's the truth. That's what Irish parenting is.
Good old Irish. If you weren't raised in a pub as a child and you're Irish, you weren't raised correctly.
I remember whenever you were allowed to smoke in the bar and all this hair kind of crack.
20 years gone now, man.
Jesus, I know that's mental. I remember my childhood was literally watching my dad watch the football on the Magnet on Sundays, though, because they had a big Carberry. The Magnet bar was only up the street from us, and you were grand. You were sitting, me, my brother, my mum, my dad, I think my auntie and my uncle would have went as well because they only lived down the street. So I was sitting with all my cousins getting hyper as fuck on Coca-Cola, and everybody else watching the football, smoking away. Just remember the days.
Different fucking time. Sure, we'll knock on a bit of practice for the crack. I've picked out one you definitely haven't listened to in a long time.
Oh, Jesus.
Here we go.
Oh, Jesus.
Good one, though. Great one.
Oh. That was the Pantera tune. God damn.
I fucking uploaded that 7 years ago.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's 765 views, so it's got a few people have seen it over the years.
Good. Probably fucking 700 or me steaming, yeah, yes.
Yeah, and you
So
fucking the 2 gigs you played for me in Dublin, you didn't fucking play that song. I was like, fuck you anyway.
I don't even know why we didn't. Like I actually remember. I remember. Right, here's the thing again. Steve, as I said, is a musical genius, and he writes everything. I mean, apart from vocals and lyrics, and the only time he would write vocals, do vocals and lyrics with me is whenever we're sitting there and something's not working out, and he would sit and he goes, "Well, I'll try this," and he does it. And Steve being Steve is fucking class. He gets it first time, and I go, "That'll do. That's it. That's grand." Like, I mean, I can't rate the man high enough. As all the boys in the band as well, but Steve, like the drums there were programmed. You wouldn't think it. But that was Steve one night. He programmed them and I sent them to me. Now, obviously, Andy as well, like live and writing stuff as well. Andy does his own thing and he has written stuff on bass players we've had over the years as well. We've had Ben McConnell, we've had Connor Summers, who's been the more staple, and we had Kerry Donnelly. And well, we have Connor now still because she's doing her own thing. But we all do our own thing. Steve does all the guitar himself, and whenever we're writing the drums, and he would just send them to me, and he goes, "I wrote this." Like, sent me something like 2 weeks ago because we're writing new material, and I sent it to me, and I was like, "Jesus, it sounds class." Because we're looking to do something more. The whole point was we had the first EP, which was obviously us doing the Fear Factor thing. Like, what we were looking to do was comment on the human condition. Fear Factor have done that amazingly well. They've combined the machinery and the bioorganic kind of imagery that we get from the likes of, as I said, Terminator, John. So like Fear Factor have done all that, whereas we were doing it more on the reliance of man and machine, and we process new stuff that we wrote kind of like with System Failure, the EP. There was things in there that we were talking about, like most people talk about like hard drives and reboots and stuff like that, and we're like, a lot of humans are kind of like machines. We need rebooted every now and then. We need we need upgrades. We need this. We need that. So it was more along the psychological aspect of stuff. But with strength, I remember whenever Steve sent that to me, I was like, Jesus, this is kind of different. Because that's on the album, which we're still recording, because we've added another 5 songs to the album.
All right.
I know we've been waiting for this album for years. We're like down. That's why I was wearing my down top, so I could bring it up and be all, we're like down. We don't release something for a long time, but then we come and we dump a whole load on you. So we've added more songs in, but the songs are so different, from what we wrote back then to what we're writing now.
7 years though.
I know,
and a long time, like.
It's a long time, but as I said, family in the process. I mean,
I know, but your whole music, your taste change over the years as well, and you grow.
Oh, massively. But that's what I'm saying. Even with Strength, I was going through a period where, like, you can obviously hear it in my vocals. My vocals there are completely different from Paris. It still has the heaviness, but there's a maturity to it. There's
more melody.
There's melody. There's different influences. Now, whenever I was writing Strength, I was still listening to Pantera. I always listen to Pantera as a bass, but I go, what else can I mix in? I was listening to a lot of Henry Rollins and Black Flag, which you kind of get that raspy, that higher end. And I was listening to a lot of Acid Bath as well. So I was going from from punk down to like sludge again. And Steve, I said, I was doing it. I was like, look, I'm listening to these bands, and Steve was like, right, do you think it's going to fit? I said, we'll see. And I go, well, it worked for Termination whenever we did that in the first EP. And he was like, great, well, if you think it's going to work, then let's do it. And I went down and we recorded Strength. I think the full song, we recorded it within 45 months. Right?
Jesus.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, we had the bare bones. And I said, well, what are you going to add on top of that? And he goes, I'm going to go to, do you hear the wee? So he was just adding we kind of under, things just underneath, just layering it and layering it. And it wasn't like we don't want to be overly complicated. Like the thing with Havers is you hear all the harmonies and you hear all these butts and like you're like it sounds good and it looks good on stage, but like we wanted to keep it simple. No solos, no fucking footery butts. Just make it about the song, make it about the riff, make it about the instruments doing the work for you. And that's why, like, as much as I love Havers, and I've always said this, like, the music that I was writing and Proxist and still writing, I enjoy more. You're not butting heads because, as I said, we all had different influences in Havers, and it was fighting for your input. Whereas me and Steve and Andy and Connor, we're kind of
easier, like it two
it's easier. We all like the same things.
Two people writing rather than 5 people writing.
Aye, do you know what I mean? And Steve would write it, and he would send it to me, and I would write the lyrics and the vocals. And Steve, if he picks up on lyrics and stuff, he goes, "Cool, can I sing that?" And I go, "You work away." And Steve, like you've seen us live, and Steve would do the harmonies and stuff, and that's what I mean. He's a genius at working things out. And we would try different harmonies when we were recording. And I remember in Isolation from the EP, even put on a fucking harp. Like there's a harp in one of the kind of quieter sort of bridge parts. I remember hearing it for the first time. And he goes, "Right, it's finished now." Because I just heard I was working along to the click track and I was working along with just the basic song. So I recorded my vocals and I go, "You happy with that?" And he goes, "I'm happy with that. I'll do what I have to do. If I need you back in for anything like a harmony or you need to change something or there's a note, something," and I go, "Grand." So he sent it back to me and he was, "Right, this is it, now finished. It just needs to be mastered, but what do you think?" And I remember the quiet part. So I was just waiting for this silence and a fucking harp starts. And I was like, I immediately straight FaceTimed him. And he goes, "Yes, lad," as Steve does. And I go, "Did you put a fucking harp on that song?" And he just go, "What do you think?" And I said, "Oh, it's fucking class." I was like, "How did you even think about putting a fucking harp on there?" Like, the man, that's what I mean. I wouldn't have thought they put it on. I just was waiting for this kind of like, like that kind of soundscape, we have on the recordings. I know we don't do it live because, well, like we play too fast. We play far faster live. And obviously during those quieter parts, that's me then interacting with a crowd and, doing my thing. But I just never want a fucking harp. Like the balls in him, just the absolute balls.
Yeah, one of the most memorable. I wouldn't say it was one of the things about those gigs we had back in the day. I remember the first night in the Gypsy Rose. It was fucking funny, man. The first band on, Stitch Jones, Watchy, he could do a fucking northern accent to perfection. And when you were up on stage, he fucking said, "Oh, up Londonderry," and Jesus Christ, man, the fucking banter between the two of you fucking, fuck you.
Fuck you, mean Londonderry, is that? Yeah, the back out wardrobe beside Narnia, and he's just facing it.
Yeah, Jesus, man, it's weird. Like it's only fucking 6 years ago, like, and
I know
if you said that at a gig now, like, there could potentially be a fucking bar staff and fucking managers coming over. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, it's really strange how it's changed so quick.
We're in a weird time.
Facebook. We both know about fucking Facebook, man. I'm getting banned the whole time now these days, and you've been fucking. I don't know how the fuck you're. To be honest.
I genuinely believe that somebody's sitting watching my account and I put something up and they just laugh and they go, "You know what? He's a funny bastard, but you're still getting banned, kid." I mean, do you know what? Did I tell you the last ban I got?
You did, yeah. You sent me on a fucking voice recording. It was for I can't exactly remember what it was, but it was bullshit. Like,
I'll tell you exactly what it was. And I know we have a running theme here about Skynet and stuff, but I can't help it. Lad Bible put up a thing where
That was it. Yeah. A glitch there. Skynet fucking
ah,
got involved there now. He doesn't want us to fucking.
this is what it is. This is what the whole night's been. I've just done nothing but slabber about Skynet, and now that the internet's just like, right, aye.
So
Like,
look at
aye.
that. Anyways, we've gone over the hour now, man. So we better finish it up there. You know what I was saying to you earlier about a little bit of fucking.
Oh, put on.
All right.